My name is Anna, and 2 years ago I moved to a small village with my husband, Max. We wanted to live closer to nature with fresh air, a river, and a beautiful forest nearby. It's peaceful here, and we love it. We plan to have children soon, and we think this is the best place for them to grow up. We met our neighbors soon after moving in. Their names are John and Lisa, and they are around our age and don't have kids. We started spending time together, going on picnics, and sometimes looking for mushrooms in the forest. Life was simple, and everything seemed great. John works far away, often leaving for weeks or even months for his job. Lisa tends to feel lonely when he's away and often asks for help with things around the house. Max and I always try to help her out, but then I started noticing something odd. Lisa began asking Max for help more and more, whether it was to fix things in her house or help her with the garden. At first, I didn't think much of it because Max is always kind, and I trust him. However, I soon saw that she was changing her clothes when Max was around. Instead of wearing her usual house clothes, she wore fancy dresses and smiled at Max in a way that made me feel uneasy. I tried not to worry, but deep down I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. And Max didn't seem to notice at first. He thought he was just helping a neighbor, but then I saw that he was staying at Lisa's house longer than usual. I would wait for him, wondering what was taking so long. He said he was just helping with small things, but I could feel something was wrong. One day, I asked Max why he was spending so much time with Lisa. He looked surprised and said, "I'm just helping her out. She needs help with her house because John is away." I nodded, but it didn't make me feel better. I started to watch them more closely. Whenever Max went over to Lisa's house, I would find reasons to visit too, just to see what was going on. Each time I went over, Lisa acted like everything was fine, but I could see how she looked at Max. It wasn't just a friendly look anymore, there was something more in her eyes, something that made me uncomfortable. From that day on, Max tried to avoid Lisa. He stopped going to her house as often, and I noticed that Lisa began spending more time alone. Weeks passed and things seemed to go back to normal, but deep down I still think about what happened. I trust Max, but I don't trust Lisa. I know she wanted something more from him, and I'm glad I said something before it went too far. Even though Max promised to stop helping her so much, I still felt uneasy whenever he went outside. I didn't want to be the kind of wife who always watches her husband, but I couldn't help it. One day, Lisa came over to our house with a cake in her hands. She smiled sweetly and said, "Hi, Anna. I made this for you and Max. I hope you like it." I smiled back, trying to be polite. I asked if Max was home, and when I told her he was, she looked disappointed but quickly smiled again and left. I closed the door, feeling a strange mix of relief and worry. I didn't want Lisa to get between Max and me, but it felt like she kept trying to stay close to him. That night, I told Max about Lisa's visit, and he laughed a little. He said, "I think she's just being friendly, you don't have to worry." But I wasn't so sure. Lisa's smiles and the way she talked to Max didn't seem friendly to me. I decided the best thing to do was to keep my distance from her. The next week, Max went back to his usual routine of helping around the house and working in the garden. We spent more time together and everything seemed to be getting better. One day, I saw Lisa at the store. She came over and said, "You know, Anna, your husband is very helpful. I don't know what I would do without him." Her words made me uncomfortable, but I smiled politely. She then said, "He's more than just good, isn't he? You're very lucky to have him." I didn't like the way she said that, but I didn't want to argue. I just nodded and said, "Yes, I am." For the next few weeks, Lisa didn't come around as much. Max and I spent more time together, and I felt like our relationship was getting stronger. I wanted to believe that everything was okay, but part of me still didn't trust Lisa. One afternoon, Max came home from work and told me that John, Lisa's husband, was coming back soon. I felt relieved. I hoped that once John was back, Lisa would stop trying to get close to Max. When John returned, everything seemed to change. Lisa stopped asking for Max's help and we didn't see her as much. I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. It seemed like the problem had solved itself. Max and I continued to enjoy our life in the village, went on trips together and started talking more seriously about having children. I felt happy again and started to forget about the situation with Lisa. One evening, as we sat outside watching the sunset, I looked at Max and felt grateful. I realized I needed to trust him more. He had always been there for me and I knew he loved me. I didn't want to let my fears ruin what we had. I turned to Max and said, "I'm sorry if I ever doubted you." He looked surprised and asked, "Doubted me?" I smiled and said, "Because I love you and I know you would never hurt me." Max took my hand and said, "I love you too, Anna. I would never do anything to hurt you." From that moment, I felt peace in my heart. Lisa was just a small part of our story, but Max and I were building something much bigger, our life together. As time passed, we stopped thinking about Lisa. John and Lisa moved away a few months later because John got a new job in the city. After they left, life in the village became peaceful again. Max and I started talking more seriously about having children, and we looked forward to the future. In the end, I learned that trust and communication are the most important things in a relationship. No matter what challenges come our way, I know Max and I can get through them together. The end. If you enjoyed the story, please like, subscribe, and share.